We hate you because you don't think like us. He believed that you could influence people by presenting them with the truth, with facts. To do so without confrontation, the right will win, and there's a very good reason why the right will win. They've got more guns.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing guest is that Silver Fox, but it's not going to be a happy one today. Charlie Kirk, American political commentator, founder of Turning Point USA, shot in the throat yesterday and died in hospital. It's a crazy, violent world out there. And Charlie Kirk, for me, was a man who wanted to change his country through a million conversations. He was happy to talk to everybody. And when he was talking to students who didn't agree with him and the people were booing, his supporters were booing, he'd tell them to shut up and be quiet. This person has a right to speak. This person has a right to ask questions, even though we don't agree with them. They have a right. And he seemed like a wonderful person to me. Foxy, what's your take on this?
Charlie Kirk was a man who firmly believed that talking was better than violence. And he was damn well right about that. He believed that you could influence people by presenting them with the truth, with facts. To do so without confrontation. He didn't get confrontational with people. He would let them speak. He would listen to what they said. He would analyze what they'd said. And then he'd turn it back on them and say, well, that's clearly wrong, and this is why. He was a very intelligent man. And that, I think, frightens the left. The left aren't bright. Their beliefs aren't reasonable. And therefore, you can't reason with them. Charlie always tried to reason with them. And then you could see them getting frustrated. You watch 100 videos and he would sit there and he'd be very calm about it. Well, no, you're saying this, but that's clearly wrong because, this, that and the other, and that's the reason why. And you could see them getting very, very frustrated because the truth and facts went counter to what they believed. And that's fine, disagree with someone and then go, oh, all right, then, well, I disagree and I'll walk away. No problem. But the left can't handle that. The left can't ever be wrong. And it's always, Nick, it's always without fail the left that begins the violence. In order to prove how better they were, how right they are, they killed him. They slaughtered him to prove that they were right. And as Tyrion Lannister says, when you cut out a man's tongue, it's not because he's lying. It's because you're afraid of him telling the truth.
Yeah, I think what I liked about Charlie Kirk was intelligent. He debated as a professional. So he was always going to beat many of the students who presented themselves on with a question. That was always, we knew that. And he didn't take pleasure in being able to beat those individuals in a verbal debate. But what he did and what he always did was when he realized he wasn't going to change that person's mind, he then would always say, let's see where we can find some agreement. So do you love the country? Do you want crime to go down? Do you want the black community to do better? He would always end by trying to find common ground where both of them could say, we agree with that. And he'd take that as a win, that we're not so far apart. There's certain bits we disagree on, but these are the things we agree on. Can't we concentrate on working on the things we agree on? And I always appreciated him doing that. And then with the violence part, it's obvious why they killed him. I think the far left have killed him because they've realized they're losing the argument, they're losing the people, and they're losing the country. They've been in power now for 20, 30 years. And suddenly in the last 6 months, they've gone, we're beginning to lose everything. And that's why they're turning to assassination and serious violence. You only do that when you're losing. You don't need to use this sort of level of violence when you're in power, when you're winning. It's only when you're losing.
You are 100% right. The war on woke is being won. People have had enough. Even people who were a bit woke have had enough. They said it's gone too far. It isn't just about let's treat everybody equally. It's let's treat more people better. because they've had it easy too long. So let's treat them worse. But those that they're saying, though, let's treat them worse, is a group that's growing all the time as more and more left-wing hate expands, because that's all it is. It's left-wing hate. We hate you because you don't think like us. And it's always the sort of blue-haired, don't know what gender they are, idiots. I've got a degree in gender studies. Well, whoopee-doo, what job are you going to do? Well, I'm going to work in McDonald's, if McDonald's will have me. Because there's no, you don't get these blue-haired weirdos working for NASA or the NSA, do you? They're all in menial jobs, and they've got very bitter lives. And that's the trouble. It's bitterness. These people have so wrapped themselves up in failure that there's no escape for them. And it's like anything. It's easier for them to continue believing a lie than it is to admit that they were wrong. And as the world changes, and it is, and what is amazing, I think, is particularly it's the young coming up. They've looked at their parents and have gone, no bloody way, you tofu-eating vegan weirdos, talking about their parents. And so the young coming up, and they're actually moving very much to the right. And these ones can't. What are they going to do next? Start slaughtering the innocents? Because these kids are growing up right wing. Then all these what will soon be middle-aged people going, the bloody kids are all going to the right. This is what trouble. This is the trouble they've done. They've woken. I think the left has woken up now, the sleeping giant, and I think the slaying of Charlie Kirk is going to have very, very serious repercussions in America. I think it will. I actually think they will cause a lot more trouble than they realise. I think the right will wake up now, and they'll come after them. And there's going to be groups, and there already are. There's far right groups in America. There's rightish groups in America. They will now push and push and push. I think the kickback against the left is going to be terrible, and it has all the ingredients of a possible civil war in America. Not north v south as it was 200 years ago. This is more east versus west. Left and right. And that's where it's going to be. And the trouble is, if it starts there, anything in America tends to leak into Britain. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. I don't see how this doesn't trigger a series of violence now in America, because we've been told all our lives, and it's good advice to take, talk through your problems. Violence doesn't fix anything. The lesson the left sent to everybody last night was no point talking to us because we don't listen and we'll kill you. Charlie Kirk was a man who wanted to talk to everybody. And what did they do? They shot him in the throat. So talking to these people doesn't work. And there'll be groups of young men now across America having conversations such as, are we going to take much more of this? Why don't we kill the left version of Charlie Kirk? Why don't we do a drive-by the next time we see people shouting Free Palestine? Heavily armed nation in America. There's more guns in America than there are people. And I don't know how they don't have a series of tick-for-tat killings and violence now. I hope it doesn't happen, but I don't see how they get away from
it. I completely agree. And I'm going to tell you now, if it does come to a war between the left and the right will win. And there's a very good reason why the right will win. They've got more guns. The right are very strong with guns. They've got most of them. 90% of the guns are in the hands of right-wing people. So if it does come to it, there won't be a left. And all these blue-haired weirdos, they're all going to sit there crying and going, where did it all go wrong? As you said, Nick, they don't listen. The time for talking is over. They don't want to talk. They want to kill. Fine. But they've got to reap what they've sowed. And if that happens, they've only got themselves to blame. I watched the reaction. There was a video, I saw it was on YouTube earlier. I can't think of where it was. But it showed, and I think it was MSNBC, one of the American leftist news channels, announcing Charlie Kirk had been murdered. And you can see them all smiling and laughing. Hey, isn't it great? Isn't it great? This is a man. This is a human being murdered because he dared to tell the truth. This is a wife without a husband, children without a father, and the left are laughing. They are filled with hate.
And you can see them laughing on TikTok. There's hundreds and thousands of videos of people smiling, cheering, making jokes, saying it's the best day ever. It's
And will they still be laughing when it's their families murdered because the right have risen up and said, "You've got this. We're doing this back to you. This is what you wanted." And all of a sudden it'd be like, they're the victim. Well, they ain't no victim. They caused this, Nick. They caused this.
it's it, today we're in a much darker place today than we were yesterday. And you're right. What happens in America always seeps into the UK. So what's going to happen in America now in the next few months, if anything happens, will be used and will be seen as the blueprint for what happens in the UK. It's scary times.
But Nick, you've got to also take into consideration that this government, our government, Starmer, is causing this as well. Every time there is a non-violent, peaceful protest outside a hotel, far right, thugs, yobs, his language. They're not normal people protesting righteously about a very deep held local concern. No, they're far right yobs. Well, you keep painting people like that, that's eventually what they'll become. And remember, of course, it's the Labour Party paying for Hope Not Hate, which are the far left extremist renter mob that do go in and cause the trouble, that do cowardly cover their faces, put the placards up in front of phone cameras and things like that, because they don't want anyone to see who they are, because they're self-loathing and ashamed of it, but they're still going to do it because they think they're righteous. Whereas the actual peaceful protesters standing there going, "We don't want our kids attacked," they've got their faces exposed because they're not scared to show their faces. This is who we are. I think that's the problem we've got. And then you get a government pushing that very same narrative. If it does kick off in this country, there's only one person to blame, and that is our beloved Prime Minister.
He's had a year to solve this problem. He's had a year to change the rhetoric, to engage the working class, the people who are sick of mass immigration. He's had a year to solve some of our problems, and he's made them all worse. And the people are getting angrier and angrier. I can sense it when I'm on the street. People tell me, I've got friends telling me how angry they are and have had enough. And some of them are saying, "I can't wait for violence to come." And it's like, these are scary times.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on a conversation with my son earlier, and we were saying exactly the same thing. He lives in Luton, which is very, very multicultural and that. And he says it's just getting to the point now. There's some parts of it you don't even go as a white man. He says it's just dangerous. And the police won't even go in there.
Yeah, shocking. It's a sad day. I feel really sorry for Charlie Kirk's wife and children. They're the biggest victims now out of this tragedy. Now that he's passed, it's a terrible day for Western democracy when we can politically assassinate people we don't like who just want to have conversations.
Yeah. I think I was going to say just finally there. I think America's already on edge anyway because of that murder on the tube, on the subway with the Ukrainian woman, and all the black commentators are going, "Oh, well, you mustn't mention he's black. It was nothing to do with that. He's the victim. He's the victim." And I'm going, "Oh yeah. That's really going to go down well." That's the other problem America's got now. It's on a knife edge of left versus right and a knife edge of black versus white. And when it comes to it, I can't see anything other than major trouble in America now.
I agree. I can't see a way out of it. Foxy, thanks so much for jumping on today.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Glad to be here. It's such a sad day. Sad day.
It is. It's hard to crack jokes on such a day.
It is. You've got to be, sort of mindful. But maybe next time we can lighten the mood a little bit.
See you again.
Thanks a lot. See you, Nick. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Bye.